You've lost a friend, not dramatically. No big fight, no betrayal. They just faded. And the worst part, you don't even fully understand why. Maybe you've been replaying conversations in your head, wondering what you did wrong, or whether they were ever really your friend to begin with. Maybe you feel guilty. Maybe you feel abandoned. Maybe both at the same time. Here's what I want you to know before we go any further. You are not broken, and neither were they. What happened between you has a name and a reason, and once you understand it, something in you will quietly settle. Alfred Adler, one of the most important and underrated psychologists of the 20th century, spent his life trying to understand why human beings connect, and why they sometimes can't. And what he found is both deeply uncomfortable and ultimately deeply freeing. Let's start at the beginning. Adler believed that every single person alive is driven by one fundamental need: to belong. Not just to be liked, not just to be tolerated, to genuinely belong, to feel like you matter, that you have a place, that your presence in someone's life is real and wanted. He called this Gemeinschaftsgefühl, sometimes translated as social interest or community feeling. It's the invisible thread that connects us to each other. And here is the first thing Adler would want you to understand about friendship: when it works, it's because both people are, in their own imperfect way, contributing to that shared sense of belonging. Not equally, not perfectly, but genuinely. When it fails, something has disrupted that thread. Now, most of us, when a friendship ends, look for a single cause. A moment, a mistake. We want a clean explanation. But Adler would tell you that friendships rarely fail because of one event. They fail because of something much quieter, something that was already present long before the silence started. He called it the lifestyle. Not in the modern sense of the word, not your diet or your exercise routine. Adler used lifestyle to describe the deeply personal logic each of us develops in childhood to make sense of the world and our place in it. It's a kind of inner script, mostly unconscious, that tells us who we are, who other people are, and what we can expect from relationships. Think of it like a lens. Everything you see, every interaction you have, every friendship you form, you're seeing it through that lens. And the thing is, your lens and your friend's lens are never the same. Sometimes the difference is small, and it doesn't matter much. But sometimes the gap is enormous, and it quietly poisons everything. Here's a concrete example. Imagine someone who grew up in a household where love was conditional, where affection had to be earned, where criticism was constant and praise was rare. That person, as an adult, develops a lens that says, I am only valuable when I'm performing. I am only worthy of closeness when I'm being useful, impressive, or needed. Now that person enters a friendship. At first, everything is fine. They're warm, attentive, generous. They show up. But over time, something starts to shift. When the friend doesn't call enough, they interpret it as rejection. When the friend has a bad day and is distant, they take it personally. When they're not needed, they feel invisible. They may not say any of this out loud. They may not even be fully conscious of it. But they start to pull away, or overcompensate, or become subtly resentful, and their friend has no idea why. This is what Adler meant by the lifestyle at work. Not malice, not weakness. Just a wound that was never fully named, quietly reshaping everything. And here's something worth pausing on. The other person in this friendship, the one who didn't call enough, is not the villain, a tease. They have their own lens, their own wounds, their own unconscious script. Maybe they grew up in a family where space was a form of respect, where needing someone was seen as a burden. So for them, giving someone room is an act of love. They have no idea that their silence is being experienced as abandonment. Two people, two completely different inner worlds. No bad intentions. And yet, the friendship fails. Adler would say this is not a tragedy. It's simply what happens when two people's lifestyles are fundamentally incompatible. and neither person has the self-awareness to name what's happening. But, and this is important, incompatibility alone is not always enough to kill a friendship. Adler believed deeply in the capacity for growth. He was not a fatalist. He didn't believe your lifestyle was a prison sentence. What he believed was that without awareness, without what he called courage, the courage to face yourself honestly, the same patterns will repeat. In this friendship, in the next one, in every relationship you enter. So let's talk about the other major reason friendships fail in Adler's framework, because it might be the most uncomfortable one. Adler had a concept he called striving for superiority. And before you push back, this doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean consciously wanting to dominate others. What it means is that every human being has a drive to move from a place of felt inferiority that deep. Early sense of being small, helpless, not enough toward a sense of competence, worth, and meaning. In healthy people, this striving is channeled into contribution, into growth, into work and love and creativity. In less healthy patterns, it gets channeled into something else, competition. And friendships cannot survive genuine competition. This is the friendship that quietly becomes a rivalry, where every success one person shares is received with a tightness in the chest by the other. Where encouragement is given, but not quite felt. Where conversations leave both people with a strange sense of exhaustion, like they've been performing rather than connecting. You may have been in a friendship like this and not fully recognized it while you were in it. Because it's rarely explicit. Nobody says, "I envy you," or "I feel threatened by you." It lives in small moments. The slightly delayed congratulations. The subtle minimizing. The topic that always seems to turn back to them. The feeling that you can't fully celebrate yourself around this person without bracing for something. Adler would say, this isn't about one person being a bad person. It's about two people who have not yet learned, or perhaps are not yet ready to move from competition to contribution. And a friendship built on comparison, however disguised, will eventually collapse under its own weight. Now, here's the part that perhaps nobody says to you when you're grieving a lost friendship. Some friendships are not supposed to last forever. Not because they were failures, but because they were seasonal. You were what each other needed at a particular moment in your lives. And then you grew, sometimes in different directions, and the connection that once felt natural began to feel forced. Adler would not call this a tragedy. He would call it growth. He believed that human beings are constantly in motion, always becoming, always moving towards some future version of themselves. And the painful truth is that not every person from your past can come with you. This does not mean the friendship meant nothing. It means it meant something for a time, and that is enough. What I want you to take from this is not a formula for protecting yourself from future loss. You can't, and honestly, you shouldn't try. Walls that keep the pain out also keep the warmth out. What I want you to take is a different kind of lens, one that sees failed friendships not as proof that you are difficult or unlovable, or too much, or not enough, but as evidence of the extraordinary complexity of being human. You have a lifestyle too. You have your wounds, your unconscious scripts, your ways of interpreting silence or closeness or distance. You have moments where your striving tips into comparison. You have relationships that were seasonal and ones that feel like home. So does everyone. The question Adler would ask you is not, why did this friendship fail? The question is, what does this friendship, its beginning, its life, its ending, teach you about your own inner world? And what are you willing to do with that knowledge? Because that is the only thing that has ever changed anything. Not understanding other people perfectly, not finding someone whose lifestyle matches yours without friction, but turning with honesty and without cruelty toward yourself and choosing, as Adler would say, the courage to connect again, not because it's safe. It isn't, but because belonging is what you were made for. And somewhere, someone is looking for the exact kind of connection that only you can offer. That is worth the risk. It always has been. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Don't forget to like the video, and if you want more videos like this, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.